An open file in chess is a file with no pawns of either color on it. In the diagram, the E file is an open file. An open file can provide a line of attack for a rook or queen. Having rooks or queens on open files or half-open files is considered advantageous, as it allows a player to attack more easily, since a rook or queen can move down the file to penetrate the opponent's position. In open positions, both partners may control open files, thus minimizing the benefits of doing so. In semi-open or closed positions, where quite often only one open file is available, controlling it may lead to a serious advantage. Imagine that you are asking some random chess player about the rook, and you would ask him or her, like, what's the single rule you know about rooks? And he or she would probably say, well, the first rule which comes into my mind is that the rook belongs to an open file. And yet, even if everyone knows that the rook belongs to the open file, quite commonly and quite often the positions with an open file are being misplayed. So in this chapter, we would like to concentrate on how to play on the open files, and we will have a look at examples where the open files are important and relevant, and at another examples where actually they are not relevant at all, and there might be an open file, but still, like both sides, or at least one side, will be ignoring it. Let us start with a lovely game by Vladimir Kamnik, who played Levon Ivanyan with white pieces at the Olympiad at Istanbul in 2012. I was present at the game, so I have very fond memories. I was playing for Slovakia at Istanbul, so really this was very, very interesting for me. Yeah, and I have picked up a boring position, or seemingly boring position, a very symmetrical position without a lot of tactics, just to show you that even these seemingly boring, uninteresting positions have some interesting content and life in them. And here the life and the content will be defined by rooks and by the open C file. So yeah, white has got a small edge because he's got a more active queen, more active bishop. Okay, it is the so-called bad bishop, but it works quite well in front of the pawn structure, whereas black has got this G7 bishop, which is just looking into white's pawn chain, and moreover, the bishop has got quite a lot of problems to actually get somewhere to a diagonal where it could help on the queen side. So white more or less has got an extra piece on the queen side and is prepared to use it. So white played rook f(c1). As you can see, the first rook is coming to the open C file. Black played e6. White played knight a4, and this is one of the first typical ways how to make use of an open file or the semi-open file. You might not be able to enter to the opponent's position via the file, because simply the opponent is sufficiently stable there. For example, here you can see that the c6 knight is nicely protected by the b7 pawn, and therefore it's kind of a locked door on the file, and it's not so easy for white to actually enter, for example, to c7. But at the same time, it has to be noted that this is some kind of a intrusion point for white, because the bishop is a very, very important helper. So if this knight somehow disappears, it is exchanged or repulsed, then we will have an additional support on the 7th rank. So at this moment, the rook cannot enter, but we can do something different. We can place the the a4 knight to c5 to an outpost on an open file. So once we get the knight somewhere here, black might be forced to expel it with b6, and after that the stability of the c6 knight is simply gone. So this is a very typical technique which was mentioned already by Aaron Nimzovich in his books like 90 years ago. The typical way is to find an outpost on the open file, put a knight there or some minor piece there. Once it is repelled, you will return, but the open file will be less defended. That's the typical technique. So black decided to go without b7, b6 naturally. So he played knight e4 to be able to control c5 by a piece. White played knight c5 anyway. There was an exchange, and black played queen d7. Another important thing about the open file is that usually the attacker has got kind of an edge when playing for the open file, because some piece, usually the rook, which will appear on the file, might be a weakness itself. And also the attackers usually have more space, double or triple on the file. So here you have plenty of squares where whites can think about doubling or tripling. But because of this c7, now f4 bishop, the c7 square is unavailable for black. So he's got just one square to defend the file. And more of a c8 rook might be, like for example if white triples, the rook might be insufficiently protected. And that's why the c6 knight's mobility will be restricted, it will be pinned in a way. Of course there are still some moves like knight a7 or knight d7 that would give additional protection to the c8 square, but black cannot play knight b4 or something like that. So blue played queen d7, with white doubled of course. Black played rook fc8. As you can see, black would like to get the bishop into play, so he has chosen to play with this rook so that the f8 square is vacated for the bishop. Now white played a3, just getting a little bit of space on the queen side. Black played bishop f6, rook c2, and black played bishop f8, obviously rook c2, and now black played f6. f6 is a move which we usually don't want to do, because now the 7th rank is weakened, and also these pawns might be quite weak, but the e5 square was very important for black, and he just wanted to be sure that there will be no knight jumping on that square, and therefore this knight might go somewhere away and protect the c8 hook. And now white played knight d2. As you can see, another knight is coming to c5. There are not so many rules which you might use when you are fighting for the open file, and as you can see, this outpost rule is repeating itself even in a single game again and again. At this moment, the position is still probably equal or just marginally worse for black, but black has to be really precise. Vladimir Kramnik notes that now black can probably play knight a7, which is not a visually nice move, but it relieves the tension along the c5 a little bit, because after queen c7, rook c7, obviously queen d8, you can see that sometimes even the attacking rook might be hanging. There is no rook takes b7 because this c1 rook is hanging. The rooks are working in connection. And they should remain connected at the moment. Kramnik is giving a line, and knight b3, and now black can take, and white is forced to take with the bishop, because after rook c7, Kramnik writes that e5 is very strong. There's a funny moment takes, bishop, queen takes a6, queen c8, very good move. Rook a7, queen a6, is the answer, and black is winning. So after knight e2, knight a7 was a good move, but not so easy to find. Ironian played natural bishop d6, a natural but probably faulty bishop d6. Now white took, and as you can see by very, very simple means, Kramnik is building up the attack. He played knight b3, and okay, now black can play b6 and still hold somehow. But as you can see, the provocation of the knight winning to go to the outpost would be successful, and this knight on c6 really is already a weakness. Therefore, Aronian wanted to avoid this one, and he played rook c7 after knight b3. But now white has got a very nice resource. Again, if you want, you might pause the video and just try to be looking for the resource for yourself. Kramnik played knight a5. Using the fact that this rook is unprotected. If you have to take away only 2 pieces of knowledge out of this game, be it please this. First of all, you can use the outpost strategy when using an open file. If you can't enter the position, you should use the outpost strategy. And the second thing, which is important, is that the defending rooks easily targets along the open file, and you might pin pieces in front of them. And it might also happen with the attacking rook sometimes, but in 95% of cases is the defensive rook, which turns out to be unprotected. Now black played rook c8 and probably hoped to equalize, because of course knight c6, rook c6 is very, very equal. But white has got a tactical shot in stock. Kramnik took knight b7 for the price of a knight. Now white has destroyed the support of the c6 knight. As you can see, the knight is now pinned from 2 directions, from along the rank as well as along the file. And this is a deadly pin. There it's very difficult to find anything what black can do about that. After bc7, white played b4, and black tried to unpin himself at least along the rank. But white played a very precise move, queen b6. Attacking additionally the c7 rook. And there is no way how the black knight can unpin now. Black played queen e8, trying to trick white a little bit after b5. After b5, black hoped that knight d4 will be the solution, because there is a nice fork on e2. But Kramnik himself said that he was very happy to fall into this trap, because after rook c7, knight e2, king h1, knight c1, rook c8, queen c8, this knight is in some kind of an offside, and this b-pawn is much more relevant, so white played queen c6, queen d8. Okay, we have no rooks on board, obviously, but the game is itself very, very interesting, so I would prefer just to play it out till the end. White played b6, black played king f7, check. So, as you can see, white doesn't even bother to take. King e8, and now white played queen a7, very nice move, and b7, b8 is coming, and there is nothing that can stop the b-pawn from promoting. So as you can see, even if very simple positions, even if in a situation with a very minor advantage, the open file is really important, and there are techniques that you might use to actually make it work and make it useful to play along the open file. A common strategic objective for a rook or queen on an open file is to reach its 7th or 8th rank, the opponent's 2nd or 1st rank. Controlling the 7th rank is generally worth at least a pawn, as it threatens all the opponent's yet moved pawns to some degree. Controlling the 8th rank is likely to force the opposing king into a more exposed position and puts pressure on any remaining undeveloped pieces, or if the rank is already clear, allows unobstructed movement behind the enemy forces. In the following chapter, we will speak about a strategical motive that comes up a bit later in the game, because in order to get your rook to the 7th rank, you'll need to put some effort. You need to find an open file to get the rook there and so on. So usually these situations come a bit later in the game, as compared to situations when we are speaking about an open file, for example. It is very useful to think about the difference between an open file and the 7th rank. There are actually 3 differences. To understand them fully, I would like to focus your attention on the board, and we are having there a very nice game between Katakamski, who is playing the white pieces, and Ruslan Ponomaryov, who is playing the black pieces. So what are the differences between the 7th rank and a file? I think that there are 3 important differences. Okay, white here played rook c7, and as you can see, these pawns are quite vulnerable. Why? Well, the reason is simple and everyone knows that. It's because there are no pawns on the 8th rank which would be able to cover the 7th rank pawns, and therefore these pawns lack natural protection. So when you get to a 7th rank with your rook, it's like when a child gets into a candy store and the mom says, okay, you can buy anything you want. Of course, the child is very happy and will probably stuff itself with a lot of candies. So that's the good news about the 7th rank. The bad news is that while the open file is by definition open from the 1st rank till the 8th rank, and the rook can move there freely, the 7th rank can be short or can be long. And that's a huge difference, of course. If you get only a 7th rank, which is like 2 or 3 squares long, that's not enough to exert some interesting activity, usually. So, quite often, we, or the players who are getting to the 7th rank, are trying to prolong the rank to give the rook's maximum activity. And also, the 3rd difference is that when you are occupying an open file, usually the rooks are in the middle of your own army, but on the 7th rank, the rooks are quite far away from their own army, so they desperately need protection and some kind of support, quite often. So in order to be successful on the 7th rank, you need to achieve 2 things. First of all, it's always nice to prolong the rank, so that your rook is more active. And secondly, it's always nice to get helping hands, to get some kind of a support from some other piece. So let us continue with having a look at the game between Kamskigata playing with the white pieces and Ruslan Ponomaryov playing the black pieces. After rook c7, we probably have to say a few words about the generally about the position, because, well, black has got huge problems here already. The reason being that the bishop is very vulnerable on a8. This bishop also lacks natural protection from some pawn. Also, the king is quite abandoned because the queen is on the other side of the board. And even structurally, black has got this d5 isolated pawn, whereas white has got a nice pawn chain, which is good to lovely to see at. And it's also able to block the pawn very nicely. Therefore, Ruslan Ponomaro tried to get some desperate counterplay, and he played d4. I think it's a very good practical chance because now the bishop can see very far away, and simply, even if Black gives up this pawn, it actually enhances his chances. So after bishop d4, Black can, for example, give a check, king h2, and his chances are a bit higher because of this. Bishop has turned itself into some kind of active piece. So after d4, white has to be aggressive. After all, this is a position with opposite colored bishops, and the side that is attacking with opposite colored bishops is usually the one which will also have the advantage, because when you are attacking with a bishop and your opponent cannot cover the same squares with the bishop, because it is working on a different color of squares, then of course you are more or less a piece up when attacking. So this is a very good chance, but Gatakamsky was up to the task, and he played a lovely move, e6. Of course, Black can't take with the rook because there's a mate. So he has to take, well, sooner or later with the pawn, because otherwise white plays e takes f7. And so white played e6, Black gave one check, king h2 and f e6. And what happened? If you remember these two rules, we want to prolong the 7th rank, and this is what happened. Now the rook sees very far away. Sorry for that. And also white now can add another piece to the party, and can add another piece to the attack. So white now played queen h5, and you can see that the harmony of white pieces has increased tremendously at the moment. And so with this e6 move, Gatakamsky has achieved more or less what he needed in order to gain a successful attack along the 7th rank. Now Black played knight d6 to cover the most sensitive squares, but now the bishop joins the party. Bishop d4. So Black took on f3. I think that was just a desperate try to sidetrack the white queen somehow, but the white queen wasn't sidetracked at all. After g7, king h8, queen h6, Black simply resigned because there are simply too many pieces on the black king. e5 is not helping anymore because white has several possibilities how to solve this. The loveliest one is probably rook e7. After that, bishop e5 is threatening, and after rook e7, there is a lovely mate on f8. So, as you can see, the strategy of the attacking side, which is having a rook on the 7th rank, is no rocket science. If you remember these two rules, please get the rook some help and try to prolong the 7th rank. I'm sure your attacks will be successful. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe.